In 1682, Robert Cavelier stood on a muddy bank and claimed this vast, untamed land for France. He called it La Louisiane, a place of swamps and winding rivers, of coastlines no one had mapped, and skies that stretched forever. Empires came, and then they vanished. Forts were built, then swallowed by the tide. People were moved from their homes, but the land never forgot. It kept the remnants, the echoes. Even now, if you walk quietly through these wetlands, you'll feel them. Crumbling stone, flickers of history half lost in moss, and stories hidden in plain sight. Welcome to Louisiana, a state of secrets, of shadow and shine, of voices beneath the surface. This journey is not about what you already know. It's about what still lingers. When the tour buses are gone and the wind moves through forgotten walls. Stay with me as we uncover the hidden wonders of Louisiana. On the windswept shore of Lake Bourne, in the quiet of St. Bernard Parish, there is a place no road can take you. Fort Proctor, a forgotten sentinel, half buried in tidewater and time. Built with stone and purpose, designed to guard New Orleans from naval attack. Yet it never saw a battle, never fired a shot. A Martello-style tower, its walls thick with brick and iron beams. But storms came, and war shifted, and the fort was left unfinished. In the 1960s, the Mississippi River Gulf Outlet Canal cut off the land around it. Now it sits in silence, surrounded by shallows. Accessible only by kayak or boat, it watches the water. It waits. Nature has softened its edges. Crabs in the hallways, egrets on the ledges. A fortress built for defense, now defending only memory. In the southern veins of Terrebonne Parish, where bayous weave like braided thread, you'll find Pointe-aux-Chenes, a place where stories are passed through tide and smoke. where shrimp boats rise and fall with the day's heat. Here, the Pointe-aux-Chenes Indian tribe. Walk the same wetlands their ancestors did. Descendants of the Tchefuncte, Choctaw, Acolapisa, and Atacapa, they live not separate from the land, but within it. These marshes are not just beautiful, they are sacred. Winds whisper through cypress. The water reflects more than sky. It holds memory. Fences made of reeds, houses raised on stilts. Children learning old words that never truly left. This is not a museum. It's a living place, carved by time, sustained by resilience. To the east, where salt meets sweet, Lake Pontchartrain stretches wide. Not a true lake, but an estuary. A brackish body born of mixing waters, linked to the Gulf of Mexico by narrow straits. It breathes, tides come and go. Migratory birds find rest in its marshes. Sailboats drift beneath sky-colored clouds. But beauty is not always peace. Hurricane Katrina swelled this lake with violence. Levees failed, neighborhoods drowned, yet the lake remained. Pollution once darkened its waters, but cleanup, slow and steady, has brought life back. People now swim here, fish here, watch sunsets from the shore, and above it all, the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway, a bridge of twin lines nearly 24 miles long, so vast that at its center you see nothing but sky and water. From Metairie to Mandeville, this highway above water is a monument to connection. Below it, herons glide. Above it, time continues on. The river winds like a ribbon of history, and on its banks stands Baton Rouge, the red stick, named for a boundary marker, raised by native tribes long before the city rose around it. A red pole, adorned with fish bones and feathers, once told travelers where lands met and parted. Today, this city is the beating heart of Louisiana politics. The Louisiana State Capitol, an Art Deco tower rising 450 feet, pierces the sky, the tallest in the nation. Inside, grand murals, bronze doors, a rotunda echoing with ambition and tragedy. Here Governor Huey P. Long once walked, and here he fell. But just a few blocks away, another story waits in stone. The old state capitol, Gothic and defiant, with turrets like a castle, its spiral staircase coiling like memory. Used as a garrison in war, burned, rebuilt, now a museum holding the weight of Louisiana's political soul. And beyond the marble and chambers, a campus of promise. LSU, where crowds roar in Tiger Stadium, and tradition lives on Victory Hill, where students walk under oaks and tailgates stretch into twilight. This is a city of contrasts, history and heat, memory and momentum. On opposite shores of Lake Pontchartrain, two communities breathe with the rhythm of water. To the south, there's Metairie, not quite a city, not quite a suburb, a place where causeway commuters meet lakefront picnics. Parks edge the shoreline. Families cast lines off small piers and the vast expanse of the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway. Disappears into the horizon. To the north, there's Eden Isles, a community carved by canals where homes float with reflections and boats rest just outside every door. Here, life moves slower. Kayaks glide past oyster shacks. Children chase crawfish at low tide. The people of Eden Isles host an annual crawfish cook-off, a celebration of flavor, of music, of gathering. But this is no postcard fantasy. Storms have come. Hurricanes have tested the levees and the hearts of those who live here. Still, they rebuild. They dredge canals. They plant new roots. Because when your home is water, you learn to live with change. Out west, where the air smells of salt and refinery smoke, you'll find Lake Charles, a city shaped by industry and music, by sulfur booms and Zydeco rhythms. In the late 1800s, they called it the richest 50 acres in the world. Today, casinos rise along its edge, festivals light up the night, and Cajun food fills the streets with aromatons. But bridging this city's past and future is a structure known simply as the Calcasieu River Bridge. Arched cantilever truss opened in the 1950s, built to carry far less traffic than it groans under today. Locals call it the Pistol Bridge, for the crossed pistols in its iron railings, a symbol of defiance or pride. Trucks rumble across it. Trains pass beneath. barges cut slow paths through muddy water. This is a place of movement, of labor, of grit, and still. When the sun dips low over the water, the whole sky turns bronze, and the bridge, battered and aging, looks almost like poetry. In the heart of Louisiana, where land gives way to water and water becomes sky, lies the vast, living sprawl of the Atchafalaya Basin. This is the largest river swamp in North America, a place of silence and sound, of stillness that moves. Here, the bald cypress rise from black water, their knees arched like ancient sentinels. Spanish moss sways with the breath of wind. The forest hums with unseen life. The bald eagle nests in high branches. Their calls echo across the flooded woods. Below, the anhinga, the snake bird, swims like a whisper beneath the surface. It hunts with speed and stealth, spearing fish with its beak, then rising to dry its wings under sunlit canopies. This is a place without straight lines, a world of curves and reflections, of shifting roots and seasonal tides. The Atchafalaya is not meant to be conquered. It is meant to be respected, felt, heard. Because in these waters, time does not flow, it drifts. Follow the back roads west of New Orleans, and you'll come to a small place with a name as old as its people, Des Allemands, the catfish capital of the world. A village stretched along Bayou des Allemands, where fishermen know every bend, and crawfish pots line the muddy banks, like musical notes on a watery stave. These waters, fresh and winding, feed not just the fish, but the spirit of the town. It began with German settlers, but it grew with Cajun grit. Families who cast nets before dawn and cook what they catch before sundown. Every spring, the village comes alive, with music, with dancing, with spice and steam. The Crawfish Festival is more than a celebration. It's a homecoming. Boats drift past porches. Neighbors swap stories as the bayou flows on. In Des Allemands, life is measured not in minutes, but in meals, in river bends, in the soft pull of a net, and the laughter that follows. At the edge of Lake Catherine, where salt air stings the lungs, and storms carry whispers of old wars, stands the crumbling remains of Fort Pike. Built after the War of 1812, it was meant to protect the Rigolette's Pass, a narrow, vital waterway into New Orleans. It never fired a cannon in battle. Constructed of solid masonry, its walls once promised safety. But time had other plans. The military left in the late 1800s. Hurricanes came. Moss spread across its ramparts like memory. Now it stands, quiet, open to the wind, a state historic site reclaimed by the elements. Crumbling stone, archways that frame the horizon, a sky that changes but always returns. Fort Pike is not loud. It does not demand attention. But if you stand in its center and close your eyes, you can hear what was never spoken. A place built for war, now surrendered to peace. Tucked into the graceful curve of uptown New Orleans, where streetcars hum and river breezes whisper, sprawls the sanctuary of Audubon Park. 350 acres of refuge. Once a plantation, then a hospital, now a place of stillness and play. Here, live oaks stand like ancient guardians, their limbs draped in moss, casting dappled shade on the winding path below. The 1.8-mile walking loop bends gently. Through open lawns and past hidden lagoons, joggers move in silence. Cyclists glide like ghosts. And just beyond the trees, flamingos wade in the still water of the Audubon Zoo, a reminder that even within the city, wildness survives. This land once held the 1884 World's Industrial and Cotton Exposition, a grand spectacle of ambition and trade. But today it holds something softer. Peace, shade, reflection. A park not just built for escape, but for return to what matters. In the northern quiet of New Orleans, past avenues of oaks and shadowed boulevards, lies Greenwood Cemetery. Founded in the mid-1800s, this resting place unfolds like a stone tapestry, a gallery of grief and grace. Above-ground tombs rise in every direction. Neo-Gothic spires, Egyptian obelisks, Baroque angels frozen mid-flight. Here lie firemen, veterans, city fathers, and unnamed souls wrapped in time. The air is still, but the iron sings. In rusted railings and curled gates, crafted by hands long gone. Greenwood holds nearly 20,000 graves, each one a name, a story, a silence, no grand narration, no spectacle, just row upon row of stone and moss, bathed in the golden light of late afternoon. This is not the end of the story. It's where some stories settle. To the northeast of Lake Pontchartrain, hidden behind quiet pines and looping inlets, rests the waterside community of Eden Isles, a village woven through canals, each street mirrored in still water, each home with its own dock, its own slow rhythm. Built for those who live with the lake, not beside it. Morning brings the scent of salt and cypress. Evening brings neighbors to the porches, talking weather, fish, and the next storm they'll ride through together. Because the water is not always kind. Hurricanes have come, and come again, but so have the crawfish festivals and laughter rising from backyard cookouts. Here, in Eden Isles, people build not just houses, but faith. Faith in roots that reach through shifting ground, in a life that floats yet holds. This is not a postcard bayou. It's real, resilient, and waiting to be seen. South of Houma, where roads narrow and bayous widen, there lies a quiet town called Chauvin. It sits along Bayou Petit Caillou, a ribbon of still water, carving its way through cypress and sky. This is a place where time doesn't hurry, where tradition is measured in tides and tides alone. Named after Alberta Eloise Chauvin, a young French pioneer who opened a general store. That became the soul of a growing fishing village. Here, families still rise before dawn, launching boats passed down for generations, shrimping, crabbing, living with the water. It's not just the economy that survives here. It's the culture, the resilience, folk art, shrine carvings, paint peeling from porch swings, where elders tell stories to anyone who'll sit and listen. In Chauvin, heritage isn't framed on walls. It's lived out loud and without apology. Louisiana's coast has always been a threshold, a space between peace and preparation, and along that threshold stand the guardians of the past. Fort Pike, at the edge of Lake Catherine, built to protect the Rigolette's Pass after the War of 1812. Never fired in battle, yet its walls hold the weight of worry, of planning for what never came. Its brick corridors are now quiet, except for the wind and the memory of soldiers who never fired a shot. Further west, the Tchefuncte River Light Station, built in 1837, still watches the waters of Lake Pontchartrain. Its white tower stands resilient, marking the twisted S-curve where boats enter the river. Through storms and hurricanes, Katrina, Isaac, it has remained, bent but unbroken. Named after the Tchefuncte people, a native tribe who lived by the same waters centuries before, the lighthouse is more than stone and glass. It is story and guidance. Not all lights guide ships. Some guide memory. At the center of New Orleans, wrapped in wrought iron and music, beats the heart of a city that refuses to be forgotten. The French Quarter, or Vieux Carré. 13 by 6 blocks of color, sound, and soul. Built in the early 1700s, then burned, then built again. It now stands as a kaleidoscope of Creole townhouses, Spanish facades, courtyards hidden behind tall doors. At its center, Jackson Square opens like a book, flanked by artists, fortune tellers, and living statues. Above it rises the white silhouette of St. Louis Cathedral, spires stretching into Louisiana sky. And through it all winds Bourbon Street, once a street of dignity, now a celebration of chaos and sound. Jazz floats from open windows, cocktails clink, parades pass without warning. Yet the French Quarter is not just noise, it's texture. Its layers. By morning, its soft shadows and beignets at Café du Monde. By night, its neon light reflecting off rain-slicked stone. It is both sanctuary and spectacle, where the past and present walk the same street, sometimes hand in hand. Beneath the shade of uptown oaks, on the campus of Loyola University, rises a place of stone, silence, and sanctuary. The Holy Name of Jesus Church. Founded by Jesuit priests in the late 1800s, this church once stood as timber before rising again in solid stone. Now it watches over St. Charles Avenue, its windows stained with saints, its ceilings echoing with prayer. But this is more than architecture. It's voice. It was one of the first churches in the region to broadcast Mass, reaching distant ears before radio was ever common. Inside, the air holds more than incense. It holds memory of generations who passed beneath its vaulted roof. Students, seekers, wanderers, faithful. In a city known for jazz and spirit, this church holds a different kind of rhythm, a quieter song, still just as deep. It curves like a question mark through the soul of Louisiana, the Mississippi River, a force of water, trade, and story. The reason New Orleans was founded, the lifeline for generations. Here it widens and deepens, its crescent bend giving the city its famous name, the Crescent City. The river has never been quiet. It has carried sugar, cotton, jazz, and sorrow. Steamboats once danced along its surface. Now cargo ships hum with global weight. From levees and docks to steeples and blues clubs, the river is never far. It shapes economies, feeds wetlands, connects towns, from Lake Itasca to the Gulf of Mexico. But it also threatens, with floods, erosion, and slow decay of the delta. Still, it flows. Not just through land, but through legend. At Algiers Point, the water is deepest, a sharp turn where pilots lean on instinct. Ships pass like floating cities. Children watch from the levee, learning to read the water like their ancestors did. To know Louisiana, you must follow the river, because it is not a border, it's a spine. Once, it was a racetrack, a circle of speed, spectacle, and wealth. But after the war, after a broken promise and a bitter feud, it became something else. Metairie Cemetery, an oval of marble and memory, a place where the living walk in silence and the dead remain, elaborately remembered. Here lie politicians and poets, duelists and governors, their tombs lined like monuments from another era. Some tombs mimic cathedrals, others Greek temples, and many still trace the curve of the original racetrack. They say Charles T. Howard, after being denied entry to the Metairie Jockey Club, swore the racetrack would become a cemetery. It did. Lambs sleep in marble gardens, and stories rest just beneath the surface. This is not a graveyard of despair, but of defiance, art, and remembrance. A city within a city. Silent, but speaking volumes. Across the curve of the Mississippi River, opposite the French Quarter, rests the city's second oldest neighborhood, Algiers Point. It is quieter here, more residential, more reflective. Streets are lined with Victorian cottages and Creole houses, their porches shaded by ironwork, and vines that curl like old stories. This place was once home to vaudeville halls and dance clubs, a cradle for jazz before it had a name. Here, music seeped through walls and wood, long before it ever reached the stages downtown. Today, Algiers Point remains a place apart, connected by ferry, but buffered by water and time. Children ride bikes past iron fences. Elderly couples rock in chairs as barges glide by. The city skyline shines across the river, but the soul of Algiers stays rooted in its rhythm. Not every story in New Orleans is loud. Some are told in quiet doorways, and drifting ferry rides at dusk. Louisiana is not just one place. It is many. It is stone and swamp, sound and silence, ruins and rebirth. It's the thunder of Bourbon Street and the hush of moss-covered graves. It's a heron lifting off from a marsh and a spoonbill sweeping shallow water with its curved bill. It is the feeling of paddle through still water, of jazz under street lamps, of heat rising off wet asphalt, as the scent of rue drifts from kitchen windows. You came here looking for wonders, and they were never hidden. They were always here, beneath the surface, around the bend, just waiting to be seen. This is Louisiana, a land of rhythm, roots, and resilience, a place where every bayou carries memory and every stone tells a story. If you've enjoyed this journey, we invite you to explore further, because the most beautiful places are often the ones no one talks about. Until next time, keep wandering, keep wondering.